Guys, please watch this video because it's one of the most important things in crypto, in trading, in investing. This popped up on my timeline the other day and it blew me away because it just reminded me of where we are or where we have been this cycle. And I posted this back on the 2nd of February 2022. I sold my land in Sandbox. I posted on Facebook a few months ago. I know some of you followed me, and congrats, it went from 2k a piece to 13k a piece. Will it keep going up? Most likely, but anything's possible in this game. The rate of growth will likely be a lot slower now, and the risk reward ratio is just not there for me. Buy low, sell high, keep it moving. Okay, so that's very, very important, that last part. Okay, buy low, sell high, keep it moving. And it's about not getting attached to things. And if we go and look at Sandbox now, okay, so I sold it at what? $13,000 per piece of land. And if we go and look at the price of a piece of land in Sand now, the price is $159. Absolutely disgusting. And that's down. So that's down around 98.76%. That is literally disgusting. The poor person who bought that land off me, was sucked into the hype, was sucked into the euphoria. We're going higher, we're going higher. 13,000 down 98%. So if you had $100,000 in Sandbox, let's say you thought it was a great investment, the banks were getting in, right? There was literally banks building, placing banks, virtual banks inside the metaverse. That's how crazy it was getting. Santander had a bank. There was all these different banks that were getting inside the metaverse. Snoop Dogg was buying land everywhere. All of these celebrities started to come in. And at the time, you feel like you're about to miss out, right? The banks are getting in, the celebrities are getting in, Snoop Dogg keeps buying land, everyone's talking about it on all the socials. And at the time, this is how retail get wrecked, because they go, how can all of these people be wrong, right? How can the smartest people in the world be wrong? And everyone is buying. I must be in the wrong, right? I must be the person who's about to miss out on the greatest opportunity in my lifetime. And in actual reality, it's the opposite. And it sounds... what's the word I'm looking for? It sounds counterproductive, but it's the opposite. It's actually when everyone is getting in, when all the events have finally arrived, like the ETF has arrived, President Trump is in office, the ETFs are accumulating, and everyone wants to buy Bitcoin again, and countries are fighting to buy it, and there might be strategic reserves. That often is the opposite. It has the opposite effect, right? It's the speculation, it's the build-up that sends it, right? Because Bitcoin, if you look at Bitcoin, it was the build-up of the ETF, it was the speculation of the ETF, of the halving, then it was President Trump winning the election. It's actually the build-ups that run price and really push price up. And if you had to put 100k in Sandbox and it came down 98%, you're left with what? Just shy of 2k. Right, absolutely disgusting, guys. Absolutely wiped out. And even if you put $1 million, because there was people who had over $1 million in land in Sandbox, they would have watched their portfolio come down, to like 20k, 20 grand from $1 million. If you held onto that conviction, onto that, it's okay, it's only a dip, we're going to come back. And this happens time and time again. And this is why I want to talk about on this video, my personal strategy is to just buy low, sell high, keep it moving. I didn't know that it was going to be the top, right? Because it literally was around the top of Sandbox that we sold. I don't think, don't quote me on this, I don't think they went much higher, guys. I think the average was around 14k top. So we almost sold the top on land on Sandbox. And is it a coincidence that we also pretty much sold the top, started to sell the top around March and April, our altcoins, right? Because we sold OLAS around $7.4, and look at the price of OLAS today, 25 cents. And people will still tell me I've made a mistake, I've made the wrong decision selling up here, and the price is now 25 cents. I don't even want to think how much that's down. I think that's down over 99% now. And, for this to come back, if this does a 10x, it's going to be $2.50, right? And we sold at $7. So if it does a 20x from here, it's still only going to be $5, around $5. Okay, so even if it does a 2,000% gain, it's still going to be below the price that we sold it at. Very similar for render, right? We bought render in the bear market, buy low. We sold it in the euphoria when everyone was frothing for AI. AI is going to change the world. AI. Everyone was losing their minds for AI. We were taking profits off the table, right? And I plan to do the same again next cycle, because all I need to do is the same thing I'd done last cycle, right? And this cycle, just buy low, sell high. That's all I need to do. And I will hit my target of $100 million. This is what I want to hit over the next 2 cycles. I don't care if the market goes up. And in fact, if I sell here, so if I sell and take profits here like we did in March, April, I will tell you guys it probably can go higher, right? I even posted back in 2022. Will it go higher? Most likely, but anything's possible in this game. I always have a strategy for the opposite, right? You can be too bullish, you can be too bearish, and I don't want to get too bearish and I don't want to get too bullish. That's why I kind of sometimes have a strategy for either outcome. But I said here the rate of growth is going to be a lot slower. Why? Because it's just gone up 10, 20, 30x, right? It's just gone up 3,000%. Every single person who ever bought Sandbox land was in massive profits back in this rally, right? There was people who got in much cheaper than me and made huge gains. And it can only go up for so long. People are going to take profits off the table. But most lose, okay? So most of the people who held their land, you can go and see some horror scenes, because there is people with $2-3 million that just watch their accounts go down pretty much to zero by having too much conviction, by having too much hope. Well, the banks are getting in, all these people are getting in. How can it go down 90%? And it went down 98%, guys. And still, even today, no one's pretty much using Sandbox, right? You're seeing NFTs completely be withdrawn from the space, and that whole crypto gaming thing was withdrawn. And we saw Facebook cancel their metaverse plans, Disney canceled their metaverse plans, and I just said, guys, watch what they do, not watch what they say. And we could clearly see that they were just giving up on this whole metaverse movement. And those who held lost their bags. This game is not a joke, guys. And, I only need to do 10x 2 more times, another $100 million. And, you've seen this cycle and last cycle, 20x, 30x, 50x. I made 1,000x on something. And, just sticking to this strategy, I think this was a 25x from bottom to top. And it's about not being greedy, right? Pigs get slaughtered. The reason most people lose is because at 12.30, right, when I was selling, when I was taking profits, people in my own group were saying, I'm not going to sell. I think we're going much higher. And it's about when you're in the zone, when you're in that moment in time where you're so convinced that you're about to go higher, that the market's not finished, that's sometimes when the market will actually humble you. And I don't think render is going to come back past 12.30, because you've got to think about all the resistances that it has to get through. People are going to be in huge profits who bought the dip down here if it does push up past 12.30. The times have changed. A lot of the smart money started to sell. One of the reasons we actually sold around this time, I posted in the Discord at the time, we could see that the smart money were moving millions. We saw about 30 million be moved in a few days to Coinbase. We could see, I was watching Beeple's wallet, so I was tracking Beeple's wallet. He was selling and dumping his render. Every time he got an unlock, he was selling and dumping. It was just a matter of time before it started to roll over. Could it have gone higher? Absolutely. It could have gone higher, and that's fine with me, because I would have already done my 25x. Just think, guys, I only need to do a 10x, in 2 cycles. But what happens if I hit a 25x next cycle, right? I'm not going for that, and that's how pigs get slaughtered, right? Greed. People go for greed. They hold for longer. They go, what if I speed up this process and I hit a 25x? I mean, it's possible. I could. But, yeah, I only need to do 2 more 10x's to hit 100 million. Over a cycle, this is very conservative, right? If you look at most of the things in the top 100, most of them done a 10x. I mean, you could have been, some things didn't, right? If you bought Ethereum, you got absolutely wrecked. Fortunately, I didn't buy Ethereum. I didn't buy a lot of the things that underperformed. I didn't buy crypto gaming. So people say, you got lucky, we've done our research on the market. We're on the market 7 days a week, and, we bought the things that ended up rallying, right? We got into layer ones, we got into Casper, we got into Solana, they rallied. We got into AI, rallied. We got into RWA, he made a 10x from trade, right? And dumped that as well. Dumped trade. Completely forgot about that. Let's have a look at trade, because that's another project that we pretty much made 10x on, just selling as well, and I think that's down at 12 cents, guys. Right? We bought down here before the hype and euphoria. Here's the middle finger chart pattern that we see time and time again in crypto, and we dumped and we took profits and we got out. Right? I made huge gains on this, and you know what? I did hold a moon bag, and I think I ended up selling the rest of it down here. Somewhere I did have a small moon bag on trade, because I do think RWA is still going to be a relevant sector going into next cycle, and sometimes I will hold moon bags, but most of the money I made I took out, and it was a lot of money. I put a lot of money back in here, and we had to wait. It was a while, but we could see BlackRock getting into the space, and then eventually they started to talk about having an ETF, and then they ended up launching an ETF, and we saw this hype and euphoria, and this is where retail got sucked into the market, and RWAs is the next best thing, it's going to change the world. And then all of us who were in early and ended up taking some profits off the table. That's how the game works, right? It's a rough game. Same with Cardano. We sold Cardano. We got into Cardano last cycle around 10 cents, 15 cents, I think. I didn't sell the exact top. It went over $3, so I don't think this chart's very accurate. But I think I sold around $2.90, and then look, even today, guys, the price is 56 cents. Illuvium, I got $40. So I bought Illuvium at $40 in the bear market, and I sold it around 1,200. Again, I didn't sell the top. The top was $1,727. I sold around 1,200. You see here, after we broke this neckline, I said we're going to lose support. I was looking to sell, right? If you look at the chart, I was like, I'm not going to hold this forever, guys. I bought it at $40. After we broke past 1,000, it was $500. A lot of people actually started to sell at $500, and for good reason. They'd made a 10x, and I just had a trailing mental stop loss, and I said, this thing, crypto gaming is just going parabolic, and we're still getting a lot of hype and interest. I'm just going to set a trailing stop loss, and I'm just going to let this run. I couldn't believe it went over 1,000, and then it went to 1,700. It was absolutely wild, the FOMO, and a lot of smart people actually sold around 500-600, and for good reason. And then it just continued to rally, and it was bonkers, right? So once it reached past 1,000, I said I'm going to set a trailing, and it came down very, very fast, and then I ended up getting stopped out around 1,200. But $1,200 from $40, and look at the price today, guys, $10. Okay, so it needs to do over 100x to get back to where I was. 100x is 1k to $100,000, right? Or 10k to $1 million. That's where it needs to get back. And it was wrecked, and I'm glad we never got back into crypto gaming, because I did say, look, guys, we kind of sussed that crypto gaming goes into death spirals. It's never going to work. You're going to get loads of people from third world countries who come in and exploit the games, and they're not playing for fun, right? The reason gaming is a thing is because people play for fun. And when you introduce money, it introduces bad behaviors. People come in, they exploit the system, they take money, and they're not playing to build in the game, right? And then you've got a bunch of people who are just playing it to extract, and it's a never-ending broken system. I do think NFTs in games is going to work, but this is a conversation for another day. But I'm glad we avoided crypto gaming. I'm glad we avoided privacy. If you look at the privacy sector, that absolutely done terribly. And I told you guys, the exchanges aren't going to allow privacy, right? The powers that be are not going to allow everyone to trade privately without anyone seeing any KYC, any AML. And I used to work in this space, so you might not know much about AML, but let me tell you, it's one of the most important things for governments when it comes to finance. They don't want anyone messing around with AML, and privacy would prevent that. So I stay away from privacy tokens, and obviously I used to work at an exchange, and a lot of the powers that be would actually approach us and say, look, you're going to have to delist these privacy tokens, or we're going to de-rank you from search engines and etc. You won't believe how much power they had, and they were actively going out to exchanges. And you probably saw a lot of exchanges came out and posted about how they were delisting certain privacy tokens. And I saw they basically got to, right? So yeah, this game is no joke, and things will come down 98%. I think this is probably down over 99%, and people will lose all their money. They will lose on their money hoping and holding. It's same when I sold Illuvium, same things. Are you sure you're not making a mistake? What if this time's different? Are you sure we're not going to keep going back up? Same with Polytrade, same comments on my videos. You're making a big mistake. You're going to get wrecked. This is just the beginning. It's the same when I sold Render. You're an idiot. This is going to $100, $500. And I was hopeful that it could go to $50, $100. Of course, when you're in a bear market and you buy, of course you want things to go to 50, 100, and maybe there is a potential of that happening. But am I going to be sitting here being greedy when I see people are moving $30 million to Coinbase, when I'm tracking people's wallet? This is the difference this cycle. I can even track wallets. So people will call us lucky. We've done this without, we were selling tops without tracking last cycle, right? Without tracking wallets, without being able to see insiders' wallets. Now it's even easier, right? Because we can, if I'm invested in something like I was invested in Solana, I just track the top 100 wallets and I just set an alert and my phone pops off. Oh, the biggest holders of Solana started moving money to Coinbase. Right, okay, well, I'm 1,000% in profit. Well, I'm going to obviously take profits off the table and sell. Something's going down, right? It's even easier now, guys, that we're able to track these wallets. And it's just time and time again, guys. It's happening. Look, are things going to recover? Can Render come back and push to all-time high? Well, I hope it does, because there's people even in my community that are still hopeful and still holding it. And that's their decision, right? It's about what works for you. You don't have to do what anyone else is doing. I've told you my strategy is just to make 10x, 10x and have 100 million, right? I just need to play. I play personally slow, steady, lower risk plays. I don't try to take too many gambles, too much risk. I like to do it low risk, slow and steady. Going for a 10x is still high risk to some people, right? To some investors, they're just trying to make 20%. They're just trying to beat inflation. They're trying to make 20%, 25% a year. That's fine. Like, maybe you want a portfolio with Tesla and Nvidia and you just want to make 10, 20%. Absolutely fine. Me, if I'm risking my hard-earned money, I want to be early to new startup techs, disruptive techs, disruptive sectors like quantum, for example. I feel like we're early to quantum, and I feel like that's going to 10, 15, 20, maybe even 30, 40, 50x, who knows. And I want to be doing my research and understanding the sector, just like we did with Render, just like we did with Cardano, just like we did with crypto gaming and Illuvium and NFTs and Sandbox. All of these different things we were kind of early to, and that's what I like. That's the kind of investor I am. And can I make a 10x out of this? Yes. Well, then I'm in, right? Then I'm in. And I still think BTC will 10x, by the way, guys. I do think BTC will 10x. So for that reason, I am, of course, still going to buy BTC in the bear market. Some of these, my whole altcoin strategy is going to be completely different. I am going to do a video on why I think the entire altcoin space is about to have one of the worst bear markets in history. I mean, you can see because it's already started, guys. Like, it's already started. BTC has gone up to 110,000. And the price is lower than it was when it was, where was BTC back here? 50K, 60K? It's already started. If you can't see what's happening, there is too many altcoins. There is too many liquidity grabs. There is too many meme coins. Everyone is now a developer, and liquidity is being drained before your eyes. And you're still, you're still altcoin season. The amount of times I've seen altcoin season posted on socials is baffling, and people are literally watching their balances be drained in front of them, right, in real time. And we bought down here in the bear market, selling Euphoria. I didn't buy down here, but in the bear market. But if I did buy in the bear market, if I had have seen this parabolic candle to the upside, best believe I would have been selling and taking profits, just like we were this cycle. Parabolic candle. You see this parabolic candle, it happens over and over again. And if things just go up vertically, that's when you get a retail surge of FOMO. And that is what you really want to look out for. When we go into the next bear market and you start to get these climbs, it's fine. I actually bought a little bit more here, and when you start to get these climbs, it's fine. But when you start to go up vertically like this, it is literally almost impossible to try and get back over that, and you have like these massive corrections, because the price has just gone up so much that people have made tens of millions, 50 millions, etc., and then they start to drain. There was a chance that we could have come back, and we did make an effort to come back. But then all of these altcoins were launched, Pump Fund was launched, and the whole space just completely changed. And we're going to have one of the worst bear markets. I really do need to do a video on that because it's such a deep subject, and I think I can see exactly what's going to happen in the bear market. You're going to have liquidity grabs through the entire bear market, which we didn't have this bear market. We didn't have 1,000 tokens launching every day because everyone was now a developer, right? We actually had people placing bets on and looking at the sector, looking at the narratives, right? AI is running. Well, I'm going to place some bets on render, and I'm going to position myself in render. And there's only 5,000 coins to choose from. A lot of liquidity is probably going to come into render. This bear market, you're going to see meme coins doing 100x in the bear market, right? You're going to see random coins just pop up out of nowhere overnight, just pumping, and retail getting sucked in, and retail are going to be taking bets all through the bear market every day, every week, until their entire accounts have been wiped and gone to a select few people who are playing market making games, right? Because don't forget, in a bear market, when everything's down 99% or 95%, it's going to be very easy for these guys now to launch a coin. They don't need developers anymore. They don't need a dev. They don't need liquidity. Used to, in the bear market, you'd need 50 grand or 100 grand to go and launch a project. Who wanted to do that? Who wanted to risk 50 or 100k to go and launch in a bear market when there's not really any interest and everyone's prepared to sell at 2x or 3x or they're going to get dumped? Now we're going to see massive manipulation. We're going to see tokens launching, and don't forget, so many of these people are going to be down so much by holding into the bear market. We know they are because most people do. Most people just hold down all the way down, just like with Sandbox, right? Those guys that held all their land all the way down. The same thing's probably going to happen again, and those guys are going to be battered. You can see it on socials. Where can I find this tweet? Because it really did get me. Let me have a look at this tweet. I saw a couple of guys talking about some losses they'd made, and I can't see it. I bookmark so much stuff here every day, guys. It's crazy. It was basically a couple of guys just talking about, I don't know how I ended up here, but I'm down so much, and I thought this time was going to be different. I thought the bull run was going to be in 2026, and now I'm starting to think it's going to be it's come down too much for us to go back. And then another few people were like, same man, like I'm down hundreds of thousands, and this bull run has been terrible. I told myself I was going to sell. I told myself I was going to take profits. I told myself I wouldn't put myself in this position again. If you are in that situation, just remember how it feels right now. Okay, right. Where are you now? Let's say you're holding $3 render and you didn't sell. You are now hoping for a bull market, and the problem with that is you want it to happen, so you hold for longer. And it also could happen, right? It also could. So what happens if you sell at $3 and it goes to 50? How are you going to feel? You're going to feel even worse, right? You're going to feel even worse that you sold at $3, you sold the bottom, and then it went up. I don't want to be in that situation where I'm like, oh, if I sell, I'm worried it's going to pump to all-time highs. And if I don't sell, I'm worried that I've just wasted an entire bull market from bottom to top. I don't want to be in that position. And I'm not saying that I'm right and that this is going to keep going down. I think it potentially could go down below my entry last cycle of 0.54. I'm not saying that that's 100% guaranteed. I'm saying that both options could happen. I don't think it's going to go to all-time high, but what if I'm wrong, right? This is why I have a strategy for either outcome. I don't try and think I'm smarter than the markets. I look on chain, I look at all the signs, I look at all the data, and I make calculated decisions, and I just buy in the bear market, and I DCA out in the bull runs. And yes, I even bought some more down here. I took a long position down here and made another 10x, and then I took profits on that, right? And I said to people, I think this long could rally, but I ended up closing it because it started to come down, and I said, look, I have a trailing stop loss. So I'm not going to sit here and hope that this doesn't liquidate. And if I hadn't of, it would have came down and liquidated me, right? Because it came down to $3, and I think I started to long around $4-5. So it would have liquidated me. So always have a strategy for either outcome, guys. And this space is absolutely no joke. And I'm just waiting for the bear market. You've seen my videos about all of the cycle moves and some of the indicators that I'm looking at to try and buy. And you know, we're still in a bull run right now. We're still in a bull run. I have no issues with taking profits off the table. I still have a moon bag. I haven't sold my entire bag, because until we break this line, we're still in a bull run, right? The trend is your friend until the end. I do think there is a chance of us doing something like this. But we are still in a bull run until proven otherwise. And some traders, what they'll do is they'll just have a trailing stop loss at this line, right? And they'll just let it run and let it run. Watch out when we close below this line, though, because this is a lot of the market's stop loss. Because when you start to close below this line, you see how we closed below this line last cycle. When you close below this line, everybody starts to sell and take profits, and it goes down very, very fast. So apart from the moon boys and a lot of new retail, we don't understand market cycles or technical analysis. So when we go below this line, I could sell the rest of my portfolio. It's only like 25%. It's not huge amounts, and I've already made so much money taking profits off the table. But I could sell when we break below this line. Bear in mind, when we get down below this line, altcoins are already going to be down a lot. They're going to be down a lot more than they are now if we come down. Or I can sell the rest if we do have this parabolic move to the upside. So do you see how I've got a strategy for either outcome? I bought down here in the bear market. I took some profits off the table at all-time high. So this is where I started to take some profits off render. And I said I was going to do that. I said as soon as Bitcoin hits all-time high, some altcoins are going to top and pull back. And that's where I started to take some profits off the table. This was right 30%, 33%. Then 100K was my next target. I said I'm going to take some profits off the table. We hit 100K. And now I have a moon bag. And it's my final sell. And it's kind of like, where am I going to sell? Am I going to sell when we break the bull run trend line, or am I going to sell in the next parabolic move to the upside? One or the other. If we have this parabolic move first, I'm going to sell, and then if we break this trend line, I'm going to sell, right? So do you see how I've got a strategy for either outcome? Even though I'm convinced that this market is coming to an end, and you know, we are starting to see all of the signs that we might see a slowdown, I still have a strategy for either outcome, so I cannot lose. That's just my strategy. That's just what works for me, guys. I am not a financial advisor. Do your own research. Investing in crypto is highly risky. This is just my strategy. This is just what I'm doing, and this is what works for me. You can lose all of your money investing in crypto, in stocks, in anything, right? So always do your own research when investing. If you want to see my buy and sell alerts, if you want to see my new portfolio, because I'm going to be building a whole new portfolio this bear market, and I think we've got our eyes set on some cool narratives that are going to do well. If you want to see what we're doing, what we're up to, jump in there. We're obviously leverage trading. I'm still taking small trades here and there, guys. I'm not building a portfolio. I'm not buying long-term altcoin plays until the bear market. But I am taking little trades here. If there's a meme coin and we can see loads of insiders and loads of the cabal are getting in early, I will jump in those too. You know, I made like a 71x a couple of weeks ago on Moodeng. We could see that interest was spiking up. A lot of insiders were getting in. Loads of volume started spiking up. There is going to be plays like that here and there. They are risky. They're incredibly risky. So I'm not going in with huge amounts. I'm literally just trading with small amounts. I'm not giving all of my gains back to this market. No way. I'm so ready for the next bear market and next cycle. We also have a professional leverage trader. So with day trading and leverage trading, I'm not the best. I think I'm much better at buying swing trading, right? Buying in the bear and then selling in the bull. So I do have a professional day trader that I pay, and he's in the Discord to give his trades and trade setups that he's taking. And he's very good, really, really good. Discipline, risk management. He has stop losses, take profit targets, and he really sticks to those. And you know, that's what we needed in the Discord. And you know, he's doing a great job. So if you want to see his trades, you can jump in there. We're also tracking a lot of people's wallets. We're tracking James Wynn's wallet over here, so we can see every time he makes trades and does transactions. We get notified in real time when he's moving stuff. Yeah, we're watching a lot of these wallets, guys, in real time, so we can stay up to date with what the insiders are doing. Don't forget, like and subscribe on the videos to stay up to date with the latest, so you don't miss out on any of these videos in the future. Head over to my X if you want to get involved with us. So you can see my profile here. Here's my X account. And if you click here, you can jump on the trading view. You also get the indicator, right? So you get these this indicator with all the buy and sell signals. Really great for bear market buy. That first weekly buy when you come out of bear market is usually always the start of the bull run. So you see here, the last sell was around March 22, and then we got this buy March 23, a year later. Was the start of the parabolic move to the upside. A lot of people were shorting here actually, and you know, this is great because it just snaps you out. It says, hey, look, looks like the bull run started, and then we know that this green line is our bull run support line, right? We come back, we retested it, we bounced off it, we retested it, we bounced off it, we retested it, it bounced off it. This is one of the exact reasons we took a long position here. Is because we started to buy altcoins back here because we took profits up here, right? We started to actually DCA into some stuff because things came down a lot. I think SUI, which I wanted to buy, I didn't get sucked into the FOMO in SUI up here when everyone was ranting and raving about it. I actually waited for this, pull back to the SMC weekly, and then I started to buy. It was like 0.85 cents, and it went up to like $5 or something. And then I took profits from SUI, and I ended up short in SUI, right? We took profits from SUI up here. We ended up short in SUI, back to the SMC weekly. This bull run trend line is phenomenal on the SMC weekly, and it's so accurate, guys. And yeah, you know, the market can't escape you until it closes below this. So, you know, if I was holding BTC, I'm not, I've already taken profits from my BTC, but if I was holding BTC right now, I would probably just wait until you break this bull run trend line. It looks like it's about to curve up even steeper, so it might even move up. Like this, right? So eventually, if it does continue to move up like this, you can't really lose, can you? Because let's say BTC does break out, you just don't sell until you break this bull run trend line, and you know, who knows when it's going to break. I'm not saying it's going to 180k. I'm just saying this is how I would use this indicator if I was still holding. But like I say, my strategy is different from everyone. I'm just trying to make a 10x, and I know if I do this twice, 2 more times, I hit 100 million. And I think I'm getting better and better at doing this, right? If I'd done this with the previous skills I had, imagine all the new skills I've learned, all the new software I can now pay for. Some of the software I'm paying for costs thousands and thousands a month, you know, to view and to analyze. I didn't have this software previously, and you know, now we're building all these trading tools and stuff. I just think it's going to get easier and easier to do this, but I cannot get sucked into the euphoria, all of the up-only tweets that we see on socials, right? I can't get sucked into that, or I am going to end up losing or deviating from my plan, which might put me in a loss, right? If I start saying, oh, this time's different, or I'm going to change my strategy, I'm moving away from what's worked to something else, and you know, I'm not going to get sucked into that. That's it for now, guys. Big ups for tuning in, and I will catch you in the next one.